Hi, my name's Debbie Forster. By day, I'm the CEO of the Tech Talent Charter that's moving to drive diversity in tech, but I also get this fantastic opportunity to work with Sky with their Tech Scholar program, which means over the last 2 years, I've had a chance to work week by week, month by month to watch some amazing women in tech. And today, for Ada Lovelace Day, I want to give you a chance to hear from this year's Sky Tech Scholars and their journey and how much we can learn from that. So ladies, it is lovely to see you. I remember when we got to do this all in 3D and in the same world and we could actually hug each other, etc. But lovely to see you all. Thank you for having coming in today. Um, let's kick things off. And I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself as a woman in tech. And I want you to play with that a bit, because I think for a lot of people who tune in for this, who listen, we often apologize for ourselves. Oh, I'm not really a woman in tech. You're women in tech, but you have really different journeys that mean you are a woman in tech. So I'm going to go around, ask each of you just for a couple of minutes. I'll cut you off. You know me. But in a couple of minutes, tell us what is your journey that has made you a woman in tech and brought you to our doors today. Colleen, will you kick us off, please?
Sure. Thanks, Debbie. I'm delighted to be here today as well and to be with all the scholars. So my name is Colleen Wong. I'm the founder of a company called Tech64. My product is called My Gator Watch, which is a wearable mobile phone and tracker, which I developed about 5 years ago, especially for children. Now, in terms of being a woman in tech, I never had any experience actually or education in technology. I studied business, I studied law, and I kind of stumbled upon being a woman in tech, really. I was with my children. I have two of them. They're now 5 and 6. I was with them when they were newborns, and we were just running around at a farm, and I noticed a mom looking around, for her child. And it was at that moment where I had the idea, why don't we have something that a child can wear that doesn't have access to the internet, but where we can stay connected? And that's really where my journey in tech began. And for me, being in tech, what it means is just learning about
Yeah.
technology every day. For me, that is exciting. I didn't know very much about technology. And then to talk to entrepreneurs in tech, talk to other people who work in tech, for me, that's been the most amazing. And for me,
Fantastic.
that's about being, a woman in tech.
Yeah. Brilliant, Colleen. Thank you. Mary, kind of similar in a sense of we forget that sometimes being in tech means we work with hardware and stuff and create and make stuff. Mary, talk to me about your journey and how you became a woman in tech.
Yeah, well, no more than Colleen. I kind of just stumbled upon it really. So growing up on a farm in the west of Ireland, myself and my sister would have ran into different problems and encountered difficulties in doing just the day-to-day jobs on the farm. And we went about coming up with solutions to that. So our first product, which we developed a number of years ago, was our sheep marking gun, which just makes applying marking fluid to sheep a much easier and simpler process. And then it went from there. I think when we originally developed that product and saw that just a simple hardware product could go about in solving what was such a big problem.
And I think the tech is letting us down, Mary. We're going to pause for a second. Mary, I know that the broadband always lets you down when we have our calls. I'm going to come back to that, and we will let Mary come back to talk about her career in something that's, I would call agri-tech, which isn't even a thing yet. And what I'll push Mary to talk about is how really young she was. But we, both of you, Colleen and Mary, started this, and we're looking at doing this by solving a problem. Okay, tech was the means to do it. It was a tool, but it started through that. Olga, is that similar? Is that different for you?
I think it's a little bit similar, but a little bit different at the same time. So my name is Olga, and I'm CEO and co-founder of Museumia, a virtual reality educational app that encourages children to explore the world of arts and culture. And for me, my journey started when I was starting my master's degree after a curious incident that happened the same summer. So I had an 11-year-old brother who came to visit me in London. And one day, as a very responsible sister, I took him to V&A to see Botticelli reimagined, and I was just so excited that me and my brother are gonna bond over art, and that never happened. We got into the V&A museum, and Botticelli exhibition was incredible, but it wasn't something that could really capture the imagination of an 11-year-old. So he ran away from me, and we didn't speak for 3 days. And I think when I started my master's degree, I kept on coming back to this incident thinking, is the problem in my brother, in me, or in a way we are showing the information and encouraging children to actually have a dialogue with culture and with art and with history? And that's how Museumia started. In terms of tech, the first time I ever pitched Museumia was in January 2017. And all I knew about VR was that you need a headset. So I went to Mankind and I bought a headset and I brought it to my first pitch saying, not sure how it works, but this is what you use to get immersed. And that's how my journey started. And after that, it was just all about meeting people who can give you a little bit more information and who can help you to really fuel your vision by adding some technical elements to it and finally realizing it to life.
Fantastic. And we'll come back and must ask you at some time what your brother thinks of it. Rachel, do you want to lean in as well? Because I think your intersect is not just tech, it's bringing something together. Do you want to talk us through your journey?
Hi, yeah, my name is Rachel Clancy, and I'm the co-founder of Tea Creature Studios, where we make educational games that deal with mental health as a subject matter. And yeah, similar to Olga, I work in the education space, and I come from a creative background. I studied graphics. I more of a kind of traditional creative in that, like, my background is writing and visual work, but I got into tech through game design. I was studying a master's in 2019, and I am a very tech. I'm not the shape of a person who would be kind of a naturally adept at tech. I tried to avoid like learning web design, learning coding, because that was my perception of tech from the outside, is that, you know, it's the computer science side of it. But what I found is that, like, that tech is a medium that lets me get my work out there, and that I don't have to be the programmer. I can be the creative director, but I work with tech as my medium. And I'm a queer woman in tech, I'm a neurodiverse woman in tech. These are all of my, like, diversity hashtags. And there aren't a lot of people out there. You don't see representation for maybe like ADHD, dyslexia, and that you think that maybe your brain isn't that shape and that you don't do well with maths, you don't do well with numbers, so tech is not a friendly space for you. But I think it really is, and it's just finding out where does your skill set fit within this ecosystem of the things that tech is.
Amazing. Perfect. And then, you know, Rebecca, you are this interesting blend that is tech, wasn't tech, is tech. Talk me through your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I have always been really, really interested in storytelling, in how we tell stories, and sort of the effect storytelling can have on people. And then I also come from more of a tech background. So I did a degree called interactive media, and that combined sort of storytelling as well as learning to code. So I also code apps and virtual reality. And where I'm really interested is where those two spaces cross over and how we tell stories using the massive amount of really interesting new technology that's come up over the last couple of years. And I think when that's done well, storytelling is so much more powerful in other forms than perhaps we're used to. I think it can be quite boxed in at the moment of this is a video game and this is TV. And actually there's so much more opportunity there.
Fantastic. And the way in which you're evolving that is exciting. And like everyone here, and I will come back to you. Welcome back, Mary. So don't worry. If you go and come back, we'll be here waiting whenever you come back in. So what's interesting for all of you, it is that intersectionality that you bring to it. And it is the fact that you bring your whole selves. You're a mother, you're a sister trying to help and see how people interact. You know about mental health problems, you love storytelling, and it bringing that and blending it with the tech. So it's not about you changing to fit into tech. It's about you taking the tech to shape and solve the problems you want that make it so exciting. Now, Mary, I did mention when your broadband attacked you, was, you are in a space that I would call agri-tech that isn't even a space yet. And the thing you very modestly didn't tell the audience when they're listening, how old were you when you made your first product, and what are you doing right now that brings you together what you're working on? You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, Debbie.
That's all right.
We were 16, myself and my twin sister, when we developed our first product and set up our company, Make a Mark. So I suppose that was a stumbling block in itself to try and be taken seriously and accomplish what normal CEOs do at middle-aged when we were only 16, but it was exciting at the same time, and it was something that we really enjoyed and something that I definitely wouldn't change. We did meet our hurdles and things along the way, but it was an incredible experience to be able to set up a business and to help to solve problems. And like, agriculture is something that my family has always been involved in, and something that I find interesting. And I think no more than everyone, it's again where those spaces cross over, so like, as you mentioned, agri-tech is essentially setting up technology that helps the agricultural industry, and it's something that we're working on and hopefully will become a space in time in itself, where we have a number of different agri-tech businesses and companies working together to solve all these problems that farmers encounter.
And it's why I love working with all of you, because I do feel like it's not that I'm just working with you as women in tech. I feel each of you in your own way are really pioneering new spaces, new ways of doing things, redefining things. And so that's what makes it exciting. So tell me then, how did you find your way to us? Because, a year and a half ago, I didn't know, I would never have thought about using virtual reality with museums or mental health. I definitely didn't think about how we could help make, wearable tech something that keeps kids safe and things in that space. I'm so excited about what's happening in movies. And I know so much more about agriculture and sheep in particular than I had ever known before. So how did you hear about the Sky program? What brought you there, and how did it feel when you found out you were successful? Because it was a strong cohort. You had to really pitch and really work hard to get there. How did you find your way? And then what did it feel like? Now, this is the bit, all of you, turn off your microphone, turn on your microphones. You can just start talking. Okay. Who wants to jump in first? How did you hear about the Sky Scholar program?
I'll just jump in because I was, I always jump in, so it's all right. I was inspired actually by a previous scholar, by an alumni scholar. I was very lucky to meet Kiki Onivende, the founder of Black Young Professionals Network, who did incredible job over the last couple of months. I was literally watching her LinkedIn like Netflix. Like, I was just like, this is just so impressive, and it's just so exciting to see how it's gonna develop. And she's a fantastic businesswoman. So I had about Sky Women in Technology Scholarship in June 2 years ago when she announced it. And I thought, well, interesting. I wonder if I can do that. And we were a little bit behind Kiki on this journey. So I just kept on thinking about it. And when the application opened, I applied, think like, no, probably not. I mean, I'm not that technical. And then I called Kiki because a month later, I received an email from Sky saying that I made it to the interview. So I called Kiki and I was like, oh my God, what am I saying? What am I preparing? Or is he gonna like question me if I know C# or if I know any other languages? The only reason I know C# is because my developer always tells me about it. I know like all the random words, and that's pretty much how I roll.
Fantastic.
To some extent, but yeah, and she told me that I shouldn't be worried and I should just be myself. And I should just show why I care, why I'm the best person there to solve the problem that I'm passionate about and just put myself out there. And as you
Fantastic.
see, it works.
You are. Super. Does that resonate with any of the rest of you?
Yeah, definitely. I think going forward, I remember getting to it was through actually a department in my university that somebody got on to me and said, you know, maybe Mary, it might be something you're interested in applying for. And I was kind of reading the brief of it going, women in tech, do you really think so? You know, I was like, but it was something I kind of was like, we'll just apply for it and see anyway. And when I got to the interview stage and went to London, so it was a big thing for me flying over from Ireland to London to Sky's headquarters, and it was scary really at the time to go in and do the interview. And I was sitting there thinking, how in all the world am I going to explain to these executives in Sky how me putting different colors on sheep is helpful and it's technical? And there was no way I came out of it, the interview, and everybody in the Debbie, you were in the interview, fantastic. But it was some really interesting experience, and I thought, you know what, I probably won't get it, but it was a fantastic experience to be in Sky for the day.
It's that mindset, is it, of, and I think it's something that too often holds us back. Well, I can't do that, but it's that when we can lean in and just go, phew, what can I learn? And I remember that I learned a lot about sheep that day. I went home that night, I dined out on the sheep stories and how they come together when they're under stress and everything else. I am the new sheep expert in my circles because of you, Mary. What about the rest of you in terms of leaning in to do that?
I think what Mary was saying about like that whole attitude of like, I'll just give it a try. I think I don't know if maybe it's part of like that like Irish happy-go-lucky mentality, but I think it's that thing of like, if you wait till you're ready, it's too late. And that sometimes it's taking that step, that's one step beyond what you feel comfortable with. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go for this thing, but I don't necessarily 100% know if like that, like this year there's been so many like funding opportunities through like Innovate UK, or like people are really trying to support innovators or startups. And it's like, if you see something that you're thinking that, oh yeah, I have an idea, but I don't necessarily know how I'm going to pull it off, it's like, go for it and see if you can, just don't let the fact that you've never done it before be a reason for not giving it.
We let ourselves get so terrified of no. And and no can't kill us, but we're so terrified of no, we don't take the risk of a yes. I mean, Rebecca, Colleen, does that resonate with what happened to you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was something I applied for thinking, probably not. And I think I saw it on Twitter because I had been looking at different funding opportunities. And this was actually the first thing I applied for that was sort of like, yes, I want to make this project, so I'm just going to do it, even though it's going to be difficult. And I remember being a complete wreck of nerves at the interview, because we were sort of pitching the project, and I was absolutely terrified. And I remember coming out of the interview, and I think, was it Mary that I met you afterwards, and you were just about to go in for yours, and I think I was just sort of babbling at you. Yeah, but it's something that I wasn't sure that it was something I was almost brave enough to do. And it was just sort of that moment of, oh, I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. I'm not brave enough. I'm not good enough at pitching, but let's try it anyway.
It's that the best things happen outside our comfort zone, don't they? Nothing great happens when we just knew how it was all going to come out. Colleen, you had, because if I remember correctly, before the world broke, you were having to pitch online, weren't you? Because you were somewhere else and had to pitch into us, didn't you?
No. I came into pitch.
That's right. Oh no, this was it.
I did come into pitch. Yeah. But I found out about the scholarship. I'm on tons of random, founders chats, and it was one of the previous scholars as well, Hannah, who had mentioned she had won last year. But here's the funny thing though, because I knew Hannah and I knew she was very young. So then when I started doing my research, and I saw the previous 3 scholars, I'm like, wait a minute here. They all look, 19, 20. This is not going to happen. And so I read every single term and condition, okay, for this scholarship. And I was like, there's got to be a catch. And I didn't find one for age, and so I was like, oh my God, they missed it. And that's why I applied. I'm like, yeah, it's not here.
But listen to all of us. There's something, if we're not careful, our brains look for the reason why we don't fit. I'm not the right age. I'm not the right background. I'm not. When it's not really there, we manufacture those things. And I think, Rachel, I think one of our takeaways today is that idea of, if you wait until you're ready, you've probably waited too long, which I think is a really powerful one. So thinking about it, the journey since, all right, when we set out to do this, I've been able to talk to you all once a month since it started, and then the world broke. All right. So talk to me about the journey, and then in particular, let's then look at what happened. So start with the good bits of when the journey started and it all kicked off and it was all very exciting a year ago. It feels like a million years ago now, doesn't it? How did that go? And then we'll come to the C word. COVID happened, and we'll talk about what happened then. Who wants to jump in first? How did the journey go? You got the good news. Hurrah, you're a Sky Scholar, lots of great pictures, little event kickoff. What was the journey like? What's been the ups and downs? What's been the best bit that's happened while you've been doing this?
Actually, I'll start. So after winning the scholarship, for me, it was just huge for myself, I think, knowing that a company as big as Sky was recognizing what I was doing and in tech. And it wasn't even about really just, making me become a bit more confident. I think I did have the confidence, but it was kind of almost like recognizing publicly that, yeah, she's doing something here amazing, and from then on, it was just all the marketing, the PR. And, I never had a proper mentor before. And so having you, Debbie, to be there every single month, and for you asking, how are you? It's actually a huge, huge thing. People don't really ask, people didn't really ask about me. They're like, how's your product selling? How much are you selling? How's your product going? But for me, that was huge because it's hard. It's so hard. And it has, I've seen challenges like nothing I've ever seen before in the last, 5 years. And so coming to your COVID question, because I've seen a lot of these challenges, having done this for 5 years, COVID was, I think to me, a different kind of challenge.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as shocking. It was just different. And so I think I was a lot more calm. I had a bigger network, so I knew who to talk to, who to reach out to ask for help. And I think I was just more experienced in dealing with yet another challenge.
Good. Yeah. How about the rest of you? Journey, then the C word. What was it like?
I will start. I actually remember the moment I found out that I won the scholarship very clearly. So with Museumia, with my company, we were in Finland. We were a part of their XEDU educational accelerator, and it was the day of the pitch, the day of UCL most promising startup announcing the winner. And I woke up in the morning in a small hostel. We didn't have any money to afford any flats, so I lived in a hostel for like 2 weeks during the white nights, and it basically never gets dark. And there are all the strangers coming into the room, and it was very, very horrible experience. But nevertheless, my co-founder just got into Finland, and we woke up, getting ready for the page, going to this conference, and I'm saying, look, today we're gonna hear back from Sky, and we're gonna get UCL's most promising startup, and we're gonna win the pitch in the evening. The only thing that didn't happen, we didn't win the pitch in the evening, but actually it didn't really matter. And we were at the conference, and I'm receiving this call from an unknown number in England. And Nishi is calling me and saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know, we were all very impressed. Congratulations. And it's like, what? What just happened? And that's when it started. And as Colleen said, a lot of PR, a lot of support. I'm super grateful to my mentors, to Debbie, and to my other mentor, Vanessa Woodard, who is the head of Sky Partnerships at Sky Arts, and she's just fantastic. And I think for me, I had just one thought. I did actually two things when I had that I'm a Sky Woman and Technology Scholar. I called my dad And I told him, you can be proud of me, because he was always very skeptical about me running a business. And I was just like all heads down. And I was like, you can be proud of me. I'm backed by Sky. I'm woman in technology. And he said, I'm always proud of you. And it was
Nice.
very, very sweet. And I think since then, he just started trusting me more with my life. And then the second thought was, I never need to worry about my future. And it was a very weird thought, because I think being recognized as a woman in technology, both for you personally as a leader and a product, is huge. I just knew that now I'm not just the founder, I'm also a woman in technology scholar. And wherever I go, I can carry both of those titles with me. And I think it was great. Coming back to COVID, after all the greatness, product was developing, COVID hit. Like a week before COVID, I remember I was sitting with girls in the restaurant, and I had a call from my main investor who said they're pulling out of my investment round, and I literally bursted into tears in front of girls. And then I thought it's all, and then COVID was announced, and I thought I'm gonna need to let my team, I'm gonna need to fire everyone because we wouldn't have enough money to run, because I had money until May. And then suddenly my investors turned back, other investors, and said, you know what, if you can pull through the COVID, you can pull through anything. So we're going to support you. And then we got COVID-19 grant, that helped us to develop another piece of technology. And we signed an incredible partnership that you're all going to hear about very, very soon. That going to basically allow us to scale to the extent we would never imagine. And now what's most important, our team is like 10 people. So I didn't need to let anyone down. I actually managed to hire people.
And I watched you go through, Olga, that really tough bit when the floor was just yanked out from under you. And I think for all of you, COVID was, as entrepreneurs, we know things can go wrong, but COVID more than any other time went wrong in a way that nobody could have predicted. And it's nothing you did wrong. You know, I've not got grants, or I've not had things because I missed a trick, or I didn't do this, or this didn't work. But this one was so out of left field. And for all of you watching, you having been through these tough times, you were doing everything right and everything went wrong. And watching you come through that. I mean, Rachel, what do you think? Where was it for you in terms of how you know, the journey before? And what did COVID do?
I think, I mean, so we're making a mental health game, and I think like kind of practicing what you preach and kind of living positive mental health practices is that I have to admit that like the process has been very difficult, even from before COVID, because and I think like owning the process of like, you know, doing something you're not quite ready for, like it's a learning process, and part of a learning process is making mistakes. And we made some mistakes even before COVID hit, in that we were undertaking making a mobile game in a really short amount of time, and where we kind of hit a speed bump is on just like realistic timelines for things. And we were really up against it. But my plan for this year was I was going to take 3 months of unpaid leave from my job to focus on just getting it finished and out the door in time for the end of the scholarship. But then COVID happened, and I absolutely couldn't go to my work and ask them, could I have this time off, because they were looking at who they could afford to keep and who they couldn't. So I couldn't do that. But that piece of advice of like, when you undertake doing something, it's like, are you doing it for the goal at the end? Are you doing it for this game that you're hoping is going to be like a breakout success, or for the profit that you hope it to make? Or are you doing it because you want to have the experience of learning how to do it all the way along? And those mistakes are part of it. And it's a way of making sure that even things that are difficult and things that are bad, it's like, that's going to help you going forward into the future. And maybe this isn't your greatest success, but this is a really important building block for the successes you have in the future.
I'd really echo that, because we said earlier, one of the big things as women that can paralyze us is the fear of no. But I think equally paralyzing is that fear of getting it wrong, fear of making a mistake. And to be in tech is to live the reality of if you're not making any mistakes, you're not moving fast enough or doing it right. You know, the embracing, it's not the mistakes that's the problem, it's what we do after. And then what you said about that drive of, we have to remind ourselves as humans, you know, Colleen, you were talking about, I would ask about you. It's very easy for us to depersonalize ourselves and we have to live our job and we have to live the product, and we lose sight of ourselves. We lose sight of the ultimate goal and values of why we're doing what we're doing, and that driving back to that. I mean, Rebecca, what's it been like for you?
Well, when I first found out that I was a tech scholar, nobody of my family was in the house. So I went to the corner shop and bought a bottle of champagne and told the woman in the shop.
I like how you roll, Rebecca. I like how you roll.
Yeah. So we the first couple of months of the scholarship was planning for the filming of my project, because it's a proof of concept for a style of interactive television. And we cast some actors and we did the production side of it, and we filmed it in January. So we were really lucky, actually, that filming was done, because there was a stage where we looked at postponing it to Easter, which would have been terrible in hindsight. So we filmed in January. So COVID didn't actually hit my project too much. But I found, on a sort of personal level, I found it really difficult to deal with, because I'm quite a people person. I love working in a team. I get inspired being around other people. And suddenly that was all taken away very, very quickly. So I signed up to a co-working space the week before lockdown, which was a really stupid thing to do in hindsight. But it was something that, especially for the project, I'd done all the being around people and the exciting filming, and I was left with just me trying to get some code to work. And I think sometimes we have this image of coders as just people with no emotions who only live for code and think in code, and that's so not true. And especially things that make a good coder are things like communication and being able to write your code clearly so other people can read it. So I struggled personally staying motivated on the project, and it felt I was sort of working on it alone, and I didn't know if it was going to be good enough to show people ever. But it was something that actually, when you were talking about mentoring, that was something that really helped me to kind of go, why don't you want to finish your project? And I think just the value of that mentoring has been incredible.
Fantastic. Mary, what about you? Oh, sorry, Olga wants to say something, and then Mary.
I just wanted to add something about how Debbie was.
Oh no, this isn't the Debbie show.
No. Like, it's just like something to add to what Rebecca said. When COVID just hit, I had this moment that I was like, everything needs to have a structure. We wake up at this time and we stay super healthy and we get our 10,000 steps a day. Like 3 months, both me and my partner.
When you would draw and when you did it, it was
I was organized to the point that like I would know exactly how much apples I need for the next week to make sure I can create a dessert and then use something in my salad. And then we were like super organized and super productive, and that was the way for me to deal with the stress for like a month. And after, in a month's time, around mid-April, me and my partner looked at each other and just like, why don't we just watch Netflix? And it was like the best decision that we made in a month, because it actually allowed us to take the stress and allow ourselves to be a bit sluggish, because the entire world was sluggish, you know?
It's allowing ourselves to be human. And I think that a lot of times when I've talked to all of you, you let yourself work to such an impossible standard. And you have that sense of, well, this is what they want or they think, or what will people that, where for all of us, if we're going to survive, if we're going to thrive, any context, but particularly in this new, let's call it normal, we've got to get our mental health first. We've got to get our relationships. We've got to get our circle of people that we can rely on. You know, yes, it can be mentors, but it is this wider piece of people we can pull off the mask. We can be real, we can talk, we can hear challenge, we can hear questions, and recharge batteries. We've got to have our people around us that we can reach out to and be willing to reach out to them honestly. Mary, how about you? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think since the day it was fantastic news to obviously get that call to say that I have been awarded the Sky Scholarship. And I think No More Than Colleen, the PR that we received then going forward was just fantastic, and the backing we got, like marketing wise and everything, and was just amazing. And it really was a confidence boost massively, and I think a major recognition, I think more for myself than anything, a validation of what I have been working so hard all these years on, that it wasn't just, you know, a project that I started as a teenager anymore. It was something so much more that Sky had turned around and recognized. And that was a big moment, I think, for me personally, more than anything else. Just that I was always that person that was like, okay, that's like, we'd win something or we'd meet some big goal, and I'd be like, okay, fantastic, done that, moving on, what's the next goal? And I never really took a moment at all to appreciate how far we'd come, or, you know, where we stood today, and look back. And doing different talks and speaking to you, Debbie, and speaking to the other scholars and things in the weeks after the being awarded the scholarship, that was something that we really focused on, was, you know, how I had come from being a CEO at 16 to now being a Sky Scholar at 19 or 20. And it really made me appreciate, you know, the work that we had put in and how it had worked so well for us. But then moving forward, definitely I have to again second Colleen on the mentorship. You know, it was always something that we focused so much on the company and the products that we were selling and how they were developing and how they were selling and everything. And it was never a case that I focused or anybody else focused on me or how I was doing. And I'm my own worst enemy in that regard.
Yes, you are.
I'm always fine. But I'm never really fine. But and just to sit down and talk about how actually all the problems that we're having are affecting me, not just affecting the company, I think was really significant in the last 18 months. And it's really helped me, I think, to grow as a person. I don't think I've cried as much in the last 18 months, but ever in my life, but as I have in the last couple of months. But it really, I think, is definitely for the better and has helped me to grow as a person. And I suppose I'm one of the youngest scholar here, and it's kind of all a big learning curve for me, and how I'm still in university and trying to manage that as well as the company, and then being a Sky Scholar. And sometimes it can be really overwhelming. And I think to just reflect on it and accept that I'm never going to be able to please everybody, even myself, and I'm never going to be able to get all that I want done in some cases. And it's just a case of prioritizing what we need to do.
Good.
And things like that. But when COVID came, then I think, I have to say I found COVID really difficult. I think on a personal level as well as a business level. I think it was something that I never saw coming. I think when COVID started to kind of come out in China and things, I was like, oh, that's way across the world, like that's not going to bother us at all. Here in our little island in Ireland, we'll be fine, you know. And then it was, but it really did, and it wasn't. And I think business wise as well, it affected us big time. And just like no more than Rebecca, I'm a real people's person. I love talking to everyone, and I found it really difficult to be back at home in the west of Ireland, locked down and just working on. In one sense, it was quite, I think I came to a point where I actually started to enjoy it. I was back on the farm with all my family, but it was really difficult too. And I think we can all look at the positive side of it, and okay, yeah, we've all kind of are coming out the other end of it now, and we're adapting to this new normal. But I think I have to admit that I think it was one of the most difficult things that I've ever faced as a person and as a business.
And Mary, I can say as the old fart on the call that, this is the worst we've seen for a generation. This is as bad as it is. And I'd say that to the audience here. It's okay to admit to ourselves, this has been hellish. This has been painful. This has been hard. And then I think something I want to, draw out that all of you did is we need to, as Mary says, you need to stop and soak up our successes. One thing I know from working all of you is you'll start off a lot of these calls saying, oh yeah, by the way, this happened. And I have to go, whoa, stop. That's amazing. That's amazing. We're so quick to jump to the next thing. We're so quick to jump to the next problem, the next, we don't even see the glass is half empty. We're worrying if there's ever going to be water again. And what we need to do to build this resilience in us is we need to find ways to accept the validation, to buy our champagne and tell them in the shops, to tell our dads, to tell our sisters, to tell our family, to store that up, because it's a reserve we're going to draw on again and again. So it's okay for us to seek out that validation. We can't rely on it. And I always say, whenever something good happens, polish it off and put it in your special little box. Okay, that's another jewel that goes in the box that you bring out on the bad days to remind ourselves. And so for anyone in this call, the fact, if you've made it through this, and for some people in the call, they may be losing jobs or not sure they're going to have a job, businesses are tanking, all those sorts of things. It is hard, but if you're here, you've survived, and that is something. And it is about then finding those people, reaching out to the people, and then it's letting ourselves be human. All of you, I love working with you, but my God, we make you have some of these plans. You're going to conquer the world, have the room and the house clean, and find world peace by Thursday. And you beat yourself up if you don't. Whereas a lot of time it's thinking, okay, what's the minimum that has to get done? Does it mean sometimes we need to just watch Netflix for a while and the world does not stop turning? That we can look after our partners, that we can look after ourselves, find people who remind us of these things, and then just keep solving the next problem. Just keep moving forward. Now we're nearly to the end of the time, so I'm going to have to wind it up. We could talk for days, and we will. Let's think about two things. I'm going to let you do an ask. All right. So you have worked your socks off over the last year. You are amazing women in your own right, but you have your own challenges. I'm going to let you have a chance of what would you shout out to the audience that you need? Because I think as women, we also tell ourselves we can't ask for anything because that's showing weakness, isn't it? We've got to, and this is not just your 30-second elevator pitch. This is what you need, and you shout out to the world. But then I'm going to ask you to give something back. I'll ask everybody's ask. You get one ask. Okay. I know some of you will want to do two, but give one. Two, what's your offer to the people who are watching this call? Either the women who are in tech and times are tough and they want to take it up a level, or there's women who are out there thinking, God, I could never be a woman in tech. I need one bit of advice. Everyone got your homework? I love setting you homework. Okay. Okay. Who's going to jump in with their first ask? What's your ask?
Okay. Well, so I, thanks to the Sky Scholarship, have a really great proof of concept of interactive television.
It's so cool.
Thank you. It's a way of storytelling that I think is so interesting. It's so cool. And I'm looking to get it to a wider audience. I'm looking for people who are interested in interactive television, whether that's a production company, a writer, anyone who wants to do something great in this space. So if you'd like to see my proof of concept, or if you think there's something you could give to bring that to a wider audience, I'd really love for you to get in touch. I think my Twitter handle should be visible. Yeah, so anything interactive storytelling, let's do something really cool.
Super. Next.
I might ask just for the month of October, my partner and I are going to be kind of, I guess, broadcasting some of the development process on our Instagram. So if anyone wants to follow me at Tea Creature Studios, we're just as a kind of a way of keeping ourselves motivated. We're going to start kind of sharing out artwork as it's created. Yeah, if you want to check out the posts of kind of the work in progress and give some feedback, that'll be amazing.
It's an amazing game, and I can't wait to see the finished product. Who else?
I'll go. So although my product is a wearable mobile phone, I started for a wearable mobile phone for children, what has evolved over the last few years is that a lot of the elderly, are actually buying my product. And so especially during COVID, more and more of the elderly who were staying at home, they needed a safe way to communicate with their families. And so it was amazing because during COVID, I actually met with one of the world's leading global aging experts, who actually is a consultant to the World Health Organization. And we've actually become partners. And so my ask here today is for anyone who's interested in investing in potentially a product that could really revolutionize aging and dementia care.
And do it independently, giving them real independence, etc. It's a really exciting direction for your product. All right, Olga.
Wow, I always have a lot of ask. I'm like, I think over
That's why I know
the
it's
course
you're
of
the one why I said you can only have one, baby, just one.
I think I will follow up with the Colleen ask. Actually, we are getting to the new level of helping children all over the world to actually access arts, culture, and different social issues that they need to understand at a very young age. And we will be looking to fundraise in the next few months. So please do get in touch with us. And on our website, you can always get Museumia for your kids. The app is free, and in the next couple of months, you will be able to see it as a 2D as well. So please, if you have kids aged between 7 to 12, do play with our app.
And Lord knows, with all the lockdown and everything looming, being able to get your kids and take them to the museum from your home is really, really exciting. Mary, can you finish us out?
Yeah, no problem. I don't have, I think, too much to ask for, but just definitely if any of you are interested in following along on our journey, my Twitter handle is there if you want to follow along, and hopefully in the next couple of months we should have some really exciting news coming out. So I'd really appreciate if we had that shared as far as possible. And I also just wanted to ask everybody that in these difficult times to look out for each other, and especially those people around you. I think we all have those group of people around us and some might be struggling more than others at the moment. So definitely just to look out for all your friends and family at this time.
That's amazing. That's lovely. All right. So I did remember this is Ada Lovelace Day, and Ada Lovelace is about role models. All right. And asking who it is that inspires you in role models. So you may not realize it, but on this call, you're going to become someone who inspires other people who are watching. But Olga, I know you have a view on it, so I'm gonna come to you last. But do any of you don't have to have one or have a view, but do you have someone that you look to that is that person that inspires you, that you look to on tough times?
Sorry, Mary, you first.
Oh, sorry, no, I was just going to say, but personally for me, it would have to be my dad, actually, is one of the biggest role models in my life and always has been. He has a full-time job and also works as a farmer then as well, and has always worked exceptionally hard. And I think since a young age, we were always watching him make things and fix things on the farm. And to us, that was just everyday life. But looking back on it, it's definitely something that had a huge effect on me and inspired me to go into entrepreneurship and to be inventing and developing, as it's something that he does just on a daily basis as part of his life. And he's actually somebody who always worked really, really hard. And that's something that inspires me to work hard and to move forward in whatever I'm doing, and to never give up. He has a real never give up, determined attitude. Sometimes it's his worst trait, more than me. He's stubborn, but it keeps him doing what he's doing. And no more than myself, I think it just drives me forward to try and achieve the goals that I've set out for myself.
That's lovely. Thank you, Mary. Who else?
I just wanted to throw in two names, kind of Ada Lovelace Day themed. Charlotte Webb, who is the founder of the Feminist Internet, which is an organization who is working towards unpicking some of the biases that have been hard-coded into our experience of the internet, and Phoenix Perry, who founded Code Liberation, which is an organization to get women, identifying non-binary people into programming. So if anyone out there who's heard the talk and wants to start learning and exploring more, those are two great places to start.
And I like that you say that, because I think a lot of when we talk about diversity and inclusion in tech, it's no longer just about women. It's about a place for everyone to be. So that's great. Anyone else?
For me, it's Oh, sorry.
No, you go, Colleen.
For me, it's Katherine Johnson. I absolutely love this woman. She's a mathematician, American mathematician who worked for NASA. She was made famous, actually, or more people knew about her after the movie Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
So actually, I watch Hidden Figures every time, if I need a kind of, motivational kind of moment. She's amazing. I mean, it's hard even for us now as women in tech, because, just the percentage of us are so few. But imagine back in her days, she was like practically the only woman. And not only that, she was a minority, and then she was working at a completely male-dominated space. But she worked hard. She was assertive, at times aggressive when she needed to be, in a positive way. And for me, it's absolutely amazing. And actually, what I love is that Barbie made a doll
Yeah.
of Katherine Johnson.
Yeah.
I've never liked Barbies before, but I'm trying to hunt one down.
It's almost an oxymoron, isn't it, really, to do it that way?
Yeah.
What about you, Rebecca?
Well, a couple of years ago, I watched Martha Lane Fox give the Dimbleby lecture, and it was about why we needed more women in tech, and that completely inspired me. It was before I'd really done anything on my own, but I felt that call where she said, "We need you in tech," and I was like, "Yeah."
She's an amazing woman, and that really comes from the heart from Martha. That's lovely.
Definitely. And I wanted to answer your other question as well about giving a piece of advice.
We're going to come back to the advice. Hold the advice, because we're going to close with the advice. I just realized I'd forgot one of the questions I promised I'd ask. So that's my bad. So Olga, you and I had a talk this morning about role models, and you had a different take on it. So talk it through what you were saying.
So for me, the question about role models has always been a very difficult one. Firstly, I didn't necessarily ever have someone I would put on pedestal or something like that. That is a very old-fashioned way to view the idea of the role model, but that's something that comes as an association whenever I hear this word for me. And there are so many women that inspire me, and these are women who are now incredible CEOs and CTOs of their companies, or who've been so many amazing things in the past. So I just would like us to reconsider what we mean by the role model. Is it someone who inspires us? Does it need to be a single person? Do we really need to ask you to define this one single person that can be your North Star? I'm just not sure if this approach is the most encompassing and the most modern that we could take. At the same time, I'm going to encourage everyone on this call to read a book. It's called Invisible Women, Exposing Bias in Role Design.
Oh my God, yes.
And I think it's just very important to understand, as Rachel mentioned, that there are a lot of things that needs to be changed. But I think generally, as women in tech, as women in technology, and I hate actually saying women in tech because I think it really puts you in a certain boundaries. As women who are building the future, like just
there we go.
That it's important to support each other. And maybe now it's about being a collective power, rather than trying to define this one or two or three people who are leading the way.
We can be greedy. We can have lots and lots of role models. And I think I'd throw that out to everyone is to think about who inspires us. It doesn't have to be a role model, but who inspires us, and to accept our role in inspiring other people. All right,
sorry, Debbie. No, I also just think actually since joining the Sky Scholarship that actually every one of the other scholars has inspired me in one way or, and Debbie as well, and all the different people that we've met among Sky. And I think that's one of the most fantastic things of the scholarship that we've got out of it is, and unfortunately because of COVID we haven't seen each other in person in a couple of months, but I think that definitely is something that helped me massively, and I found a huge benefit from the scholarship was how inspiring all the other people and the scholars on the program have been.
And I'm going to start off with the advice. So that is my advice. Look around. There will be people, and by inspire, I mean fill our batteries. Give us that courage, that excitement, that passion, that energy to keep moving. And if we let ourselves look around, we are surrounded by people who can inspire us and move us forward. All right, so we got to keep it short, ladies, or they're going to kill me because we're going to go wildly over time. So we all know we can talk quickly. So Colleen, can you kick off? We'll do it clockwise. Let's give us one piece of advice, and then we will bid our wonderful audience a farewell.
Sure, my piece of advice is to ask for help, no matter who it is. CEO, your next door neighbor, just ask.
Perfect. Next, Olga.
My advice is be careful with advice you receive. Not every opinion that you get about your business or about what you should do next is actually important. So always take it with a slight pinch of salt.
Amen, sister. Anytime somebody comes up and says, you know what you need to do, I know what you need to do, think it through. Mary, next.
My two quick things would just definitely be, one, believe in yourself, definitely. If you put your mind to it, you're capable of doing anything. So believe in yourself. And the second thing, just on Debbie, surround yourself with positive people. There's nothing you can't do if you have the right group of people around you. And that's something I really believe.
Fantastic. Rebecca.
I would say give yourself time and space to sit down and write what you want to achieve, write what your goals are, write down what's stopping you, because when you write it down, it becomes real. It gets it out of your head and it makes it possible. So set a time, and when it's there in front of you, it's so much realer. And be brave and make it happen.
Fantastic. Okay, Rachel, last but not least, finish us out, dear.
Yeah, I think just kind of like drawing together some of the things that have been said. It's that you've got your plan, you've made your paper plan of how you're going to get there, and that's the step where you start drawing on your network of people. Like go to meetup, like you're trying to figure out like, how do I even build a network? How do I find my team of Sky Scholars? It's like meetups. There's so many online spaces now, and just go to them, attend them. Maybe someone says something and you think, oh, that person might be someone to know. And even just building friendships can turn into things that become like your base of testers, the person you ask for advice, or just the person that kind of like your working buddy that you can check in with to keep going. So yeah, just
fantastic.
Connections, networking, all that good stuff.
Listen, ladies, you always fill my batteries. You are a pleasure and a joy to work with. I have loved working with you over the last year, and can't wait to talk to you, some of you tomorrow. Thank you to everyone who's here for the event. Ada Lovelace Day. She did it before it was a thing. All of the women on this call have been doing things before they were a thing. You can do this. You can be this. That's what Ada Lovelace Day is about. Thank you so much to Sky for today's event and working with Leeds City Council. And thank you for this Tech Scholar program. It is a genuine pleasure and honor to be part of that. And thank you all of you for joining the session. The world is really, really busy, and there's a million things you could be doing right now. I'm so glad you joined us for this time. So from all of us, ladies, let's do ourselves a Zoom wave. Goodbye. Have a happy Lovelace Day. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.